Hi guys, can you hear me? How's the sound quality?
Good evening. The sound is okay.
Okay, great. So yeah, so yeah, so
Good
as
evening.
you understood, issues happen sometimes, right? And as for me, if something is didn't well, if something was not really placed in the calendar, so it doesn't exist for me. Yeah, so I had an internet issues on those 15th of December because I was on a Cyprus and well, issues with internet, unfortunately. Um, Also, it's still kind of a European Union, uh, but technically it's not really so, unfortunately. Okay, so what we have to do. So I started the recording, and let's do as we do things all the time. So I will make the screen sharing. Um, can you see, guys? Can you see my screen, guys?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. So as we remember, on the January, we have something called as a defense of the project, right? I suppose it was written. Um, it was written probably in your schedule somehow in such way. Okay, so here we have a definition, at least in my calendar. Okay, so we have it, and let's maybe discuss a bit about this stuff, and then we'll turn back to materials because we have one presentation which is left for overlooking. So let's move on to our Moodle, and here what we will have. I will open this section for you guys. Okay, so it will be called final project. Well, as you remember, guys, your final mark consists of the final project plus assignments, right? And now let's take a look on definition, which I developed for this project. Um, so um, so the narrative is easy, guys. So the next meeting time will happen using well with you on the stage. So you will have to think of the problem or solution you can make for a business. Actually, everything which is around is someone's business. For example, teacups, right, and other stuff, or such interesting things like um, well, in my case, bag of batteries. Someone put some pencils inside and other stuff. So literally everything is someone's business. And what you can do, you can think of some application you can make, for example, for a shop or for a warehouse, and you can literally describe your idea in description of the project, and then you will need to create a prototype of the project, and during that 5th of January, you will have to show the presentation, which will last for approximately 7 minutes. It should not take more time because at least by the schedule, if I'm not mistaken, you are 9, right? And we will have just an hour. Well, it's totally fine for me to spend more time. It's not a problem for me at all because afterwards, I don't have anything which is related to a specific timing. I mean, there is no any event which started at something o'clock, so it will not be a problem to spend some more time. But anyways, since by the student list you are 9, so an hour divided by 9, well, approximately it's 7 minutes. But 7 minutes is kind of enough. And before that, before our next meeting, you will have to submit um, triple entities. So literally it will be a description, which is a short narrative of your application, maybe some description stuff, what you are about to create. I suppose you will edit that afterwards when the app will be done. I'm more than sure it will happen that way. So description document, application, and a presentation which you will show during a so-called final project defense. Um, and in the end, I will check. I will take calculations. I will evaluate your applications. And surely you will get your marks according to complexity level. So you have to in real life cases you always use a coding because there is no other way. Well, it's obvious. In most of the cases, you can use even regex, let's say for searching of something. You can use a GUI, so you will definitely make some window which has some maybe text, maybe buttons inside that open another window, and so on and so on. Because it's really hard nowadays to imagine some application which doesn't have GUI. In other words, which has only the console window. Well, who will work nowadays in such application? I suppose no one. So this is kind of understandable stuff. So definitely, since such type of software mostly assumes saving of information, you can use files, and we took a look on at least a bit how is it possible to save things into files. So I suppose things are clear, and if you like, you can even implement maybe a compressing. And since you will have to work with different, elements which will work by the same, let's call it stencil or template, probably you will use OOP, so object-oriented programming, to store a functionality and just making instances of your classes. That literally, well, for example, you can create a button class that implements a class on the form, the button on the form, which runs a specific form. Maybe there is a configuration related to font, and you will just run that, specifying XY and text, XY position and text of the button, and maybe a function which will be run. So you can make coding time much easier if you would implement OOP. I suppose when we took a look on OOP, it was pretty clear that you can make development much easier than coding without OOP. Okay, it might happen that you will use some sorting algorithms. It's not mandatory, but I would really like to see some of such solutions, even if it will be just a regular bubble sort. It will be really nice to see such solutions, and so on and so on. And this time, maybe I will have to move this presentation on the bottom, but OOP and OOP inheritance, let them stand one next to another one. So I will open this presentation, so it will be shown for us. And I will do as I do all the time, so I will open a Windows system. Oh, okay, there is some ad. Well, there is something I already was...
I had a question about GUI. So basically, we can use Kinker, or we can use like Kitty library or something else.
If you like, if you're really sure you can use something else, you can. If you like. So you're about to use Kivy, right?
I'm just thinking about it.
Okay, but please mention the version of the Kivy. Because as far as I know, there are a few differences, and I would really like to see which version you are using. Because
Okay.
actually, I will try to run each of your solutions. Okay, and I would like to remind about assignments. So I know some of you already submitted stuff, some of you didn't. Even the story for other students who are not right now connected, but I really hope they will take a look on the stream recording. So don't forget about assignments because you can just make a pretty nice marks, you know. Okay, so let's jump to Windows system. I will open Firefox as I do all the time. Let's what was the link? 201, not 210. Okay, 201. Okay. All right. And oh, do I really need editing? Okay, I think no. And let's take a look on this OOP inheritance, and let's jump into it. Okay, so maybe some of you already know what is the inheritance of object-oriented programming. So if you know, please, stage is yours, and you can spend maybe half a minute describing how you understand that. So is there anyone who already worked with inheritance within object-oriented programming? Okay, fine. All right, two minuses. Thomas didn't, but okay. Anyways, we are going through this topic. So, I really hope you remember the OOP itself. So we create classes. Within classes, we have constructors. We have local variables which are definable within a class. We have functions which can be run, and we have a few access levels. I don't really remember if we had a talk about those public, private, protected access levels. I don't really remember this, but okay, the main thing is inheritance anyways. What is the inheritance? I suppose you understand this word inheritance. So to inherit something. For example, there is the child who inherits some genes from parents. Well, it works in a similar manner. But let's make a deep dive into it. Okay, so literally, we can have the global definition of something. For example, if you would be working, well, let's suppose on some maybe computer game NPC, so anything else, you would need to create a basic class. For example, a human, let's suppose, and you would initiate those instances by the class. For example, in such way, so you have a class definition, you have an instance creation, given arguments to the constructor, for example, these ones or such ones, and they will be used to assign values for local variables. Well, how do we get that they are local? Because you see, names are similar, names are same. So before the name, we write self, and self is the reference for the object itself, which is implemented by the class. So once again, we can say that classes are something like recipes, and meals would be something like instances. So you can create, for example, 5 scrambled eggs by one recipe. So here's the same. So class is something like a recipe, and instance is something like this, for example, scrambled egg you're cooking. So something like this. So this self would be a reference within each of those, once again, analogy with cooking, to each of those scrambled eggs. So for the first one, cell would mean a reference to the first one. For the second, it will be the reference for the second, and so on and so on. Okay, so that's one of ways how you can make a class and how you can make literally an instances. And as you understand, if you would have, for example, a lot of different NPCs with a lot of different functionalities, you would need to copy most of parameters, for example, name, age, maybe nationality, maybe gender, to all of those classes. And literally, you will, if you would need to change something afterwards, let's suppose you will need to change let's say a name to first name, you will have to do that in every class, which is kind of normally people work in such a way, but it's not optimal. So how to make things more optimal? Well, once again, the great example would be, for example, related to NPCs. Let's suppose we would have the basic class of the human, which would contain, let's suppose, such things as parameter of the name, maybe age, maybe gender, maybe something else, maybe if we are talking about NPCs, a definition of the class, and so on and so on. And if you would have some split into functionalities, well, for example, once again, let's remember things related to some RPGs. Let's say you have you could have a melee attack NPCs, you would have the range attack NPCs, so they have different functionalities. And you can split that. So literally you can create classes which inherit things from another class, and they're just different between themselves. For example, here we have a human, we have a woman, we have man, so there are some different functionalities written inside each of those classes, but still both of them have something from a human. Literally everything was defined into the class of the human. Okay, so is it clear so far, guys? I just tried to find out some analogy you really you would really think about, but is it clear for you? Okay. Okay, and I really hope it's the same clear for Evgeny about this. Okay. Okay. Anyways, if it's plus minus, let's take a look in details, and you will really get what's the story about. But once again, if there will be any questions, you don't have to you don't have to be quiet. You can always ask. But those questions should be like, I would say specific. Okay, so literally we are making two classes, a woman and a man. So they have the same parameter, for example, name. And if you would like to change the parameter name, for example, to the first name, so textually, for example, here you would like to have first name instead of name. So you wouldn't need to make changes in both of these classes, but you will need to make a change only in the one class called human. And by that, you would just make such changes only once. And let's suppose if you would have hundreds of the different NPC classes, so you would not need to do that 100 times. Actually, there are much more benefits than only this one. So let's take a look how technically is it possible to be done. So we have the class human, and class human has constructors. So as you remember, we write constructor using init. So on two underlines, init two underlines. Then we have self. So saying that function is the part of the object of the self reference. Next we have some maybe gender and let's suppose age. Okay, and we assign them like a human gender and age. And we have some function speak. We will use that afterwards. So that's why we need this right now. So, and literally, you would need to have another class, maybe woman, maybe man. In this case, it's man. And here, how is it possible to inherit everything from the human? So, in the brackets after the class name, you are mentioning the class from which you are inheriting this class. So, what does it mean? It means that class man will receive totally everything from the class human. Let's take a look on some kind of must-have thing in such cases. So for the constructor, before whatever first instruction within the constructor, you will need to run a constructor of the parent class. So human is the parent class and man is the child class. So by the reference, actually, it's the reference, but it's receivable by the function super. So by the function super, we have a reference to the parenting class, and we are running constructor of the parenting class. And only after this line, you are able to place instructions which will be run within this class. It looks like kind of tricky, but since man inherits everything from the human, so it means before managing with the man, you have to implement everything from the human, because man class cannot exist without parameters and methods of human class. That's the main ideology here. Okay, so I suppose this would be more or less. I really hope. Anyways, you can use such codes. Unfortunately, they've been saved somehow as the picture, probably, yes. But if you would type something like this, it will be working. Okay, so let's take a look how is it possible to use these things. So we have a class man, which inherits everything from the class human. How is it possible to create instance of the class man? So we just use a class and we use brackets with parameters for constructor. Okay, here we don't have any parameters, so we leave our brackets empty. And afterwards we get access to variables of a class man. And what are those parameters? Human, gender, and age. So you can say there is no such thing defined here, but since man receives everything from the human, it has a direct access to things which are placed in the parenting class. And here's the way how we do that. Actually, you would ask, well, what will happen if I would have two parameters, human, gender? One would be in the human, and another will be in the man class. So you will get one which is closest to your class. So it will be one which would come from the man class. And if you would have a specific function within the man class that has access to the humans, human gender, for example, then you would have an access to that by the reference super. Like it would be super dot human gender within the man class. And you would have to prepare a function that gives you that value. Okay, so so far, what happens here? We run a constructor of the human without any parameters. So it means human gender and age are just not defined. How do we get that they're not defined? We have default values specified for each of those parameters. Which means that if here we have nothing, so it doesn't mean that we are running a default constructor. No, we are running this predefined constructor, but here we can not to specify both of parameters, and we exactly do that in such position. So, guys, is it clear so far? All right, all right. It's fine if something is not really clear, but be sure that you're making notes what's not really clear, so you will ask afterwards. Or if you are not really shy, you can even ask it whenever you like.
We are
Okay,
very shy.
sorry.
We are very shy.
Oh, why? Why? We already had some classes. You don't really have to be very shy.
No, that's okay. I mean, just looking at the online courses about enhanced.
Um, okay, but you know, I can always answer your questions. I can always find out maybe some other example for you, make another example, you know.
We will send you email with the problems about the project work.
Okay, I really hope it will not happen exactly during that day when we will have that defense. Okay, so here we a bit more interesting things. So right now, what we're doing, we are having the same, literally almost definition of the human and the man, with only one difference. So when we run a constructor of, we literally in a hard-coded way, hard-coded means written inside the code, we specify a gender. Okay, so literally this gender is just written inside the code and it's not changeable, you know. So whenever you will run a man class, which makes instance, um, it will run a constructor from the human, once again a recipe like, which will have this human gender already specified as male. So you can run a function as you understand, and you can have an access to the functions in the similar manner as you have an access to variables. So how is it possible to run this function speak? So you use a variable mn, point, speak, and arguments, which are none of them. So, and literally you'll run this task, which will be, you will run this printout, which will consist of the text plus a human gender, and you will receive such a result. Okay, so literally here is nothing super different from previously overlooked. Okay, so I suppose this part is clear. Well, actually, I'm just pointing here to the same place I already mentioned. Okay, so what's next? What is interesting? We can fulfill a list of definitions with some other parameters, and some of those parameters can be assigned to the instance through the parent class constructor, and some of them could be assigned specifically through the certain class constructor. For example, oh, and by the way, here we already can have a difference in functionalities and difference in data and variables. So, what do we have here? Here we have a constructor of the man, which receives hair color, just one parameter, you know. So we assign that parameter to the variable hair color. And before that, as you understand, the first instruction in constructor is the run in the parenting class in constructor. And here we specify the same human gender equal to male. And we can have a specific speak function. So you can see we have speak function here, and we have speak function here. So what will happen right now? Right now, if you would like to run a speak function you will get access to the closest defendant to your class. So what does it mean? So you run an instance of the man, and it contains the function speak. So literally it's the closest one, so which is defined inside the current class. In the same time, if this function speak wouldn't exist, then we would have automatical access to the parenting class function speak. But this time, since we already have this function definition, which is closer to the instance class, so we are running such function. Okay, well, why do I say closest, and why do I say parent in class instead of just saying child and parent? Well, it happens because there is unlimited possible chain of inheritance. You can even have 100 classes which inherits one from another one. And the story would be the same. So we will try to access the closest definition of the function, even if the closest means for the let's suppose maybe 10 steps in the inheritance up to the hierarchy level. Let's suppose. Because we have a human, there could be a human parenting class, that class would have another parenting class, and that class would have another parenting class, and so on and so on. Literally, that's the way how it irregularly happens. Okay, so I suppose here it would be clear. So now we are running this function speak instead of speak function from the human. And we have such text. And in the printout, we'll have this result. Okay. So in other words, it goes in the similar way as for variables. Okay, so here we have a bit more parameters. So as you understand, guys, we're not really limited to amount of parameters. Well, there is a technical limit, but in most of the cases it's not reachable, because reaching that limit would be wouldn't have any there would not be any reason to reach that limit. Okay, so what do we have here? Here we have a bit more parameters. So we have parameters in the human. We give parameters to the human constructor from the man constructor, and here is the way how we specify a class. So sorry, not that class, but instance. So we take that from the class of the man, given parameters. Okay, so I suppose it's not complicated. So Bob goes to the name, 42 goes to the age, and British goes to nationality. So how it happens that previously we used names of parameters equal values, and here we use only values. When we do things in a way that then we specify name of parameter equal value, we can do that in whatever order we like. But we have to be sure that we always left behind parameters which do not have values, as well, how to specify that. So here we have a chain of parameters and their default definitions. So we cannot truly say that age will be something and human gender will not be specified. Maybe some of compilers would allow that, but in a so-called strict programming way, you have to, and the main word, you have to specify all of values, if you specify values for parameters starting from the left, starting from the most left parameter going to the most right, which means that if you're not specifying something, it should be a non-breakable list of parameters on the right side of parameters list. So still this will be a limitation, but if you are just about to specify a lot of parameters, you can mix them. So firstly, you can say you will have the age, then you will have this human gender, or if you would have maybe a list of 10 parameters, you can even shuffle them. It's not a problem because you are given names of them, and you're strictly saying such name parameter will have such value. When it happens that you are not given names of parameters, you have to follow. You strictly have to follow an order of those parameters within a definition. So the first will go for the first parameter, the second will go for the second parameter, and third will go for the third parameter. So that's the difference between these two use of parameters. So is it fine so far? Okay. All right. So let's make another steps into this. As you have seen, using a constructor of the parent and class, what do we use? Here we once again do not specify names of parameters. We follow the same rule as we already took a look at. So the first will be name, the second will be age, third will be nationality, and the last will be gender. So right in the same order, we pull parameters in a definition. So literally the story is the same. So it works for constructors and for regular functions without any exceptions. So once again, order literally matters. Okay, and surely, as you understand, the values which are given to the constructor will be written here. But we already talked about this when we talked about the regular OOP. So this thing was already described to you. Because these names literally how to say it. So literally here we use names of such arguments. These names do not make any effect on the execution of the parenting constructor. Here each of arguments has its own name, and in this example they equal. So that's how we can say that values are written here, but in reality probably I would need to point them here, and from parameters I would need to point or make arrows to these places. But anyways, I hope you get how it's been developed. Okay, so what's next then? So we can create instance, we can have access to parameters, and we can have a different definition of functions. Okay, well, there are a lot of different ways how you can train yourself on making inheritance. For example, there could be something like such instruction, which actually we can try to follow. Okay, I'm not really sure if we will make all of this, but anyway, so we can have a lot of different fruits. And as you understand, fruits can be quite different, and we can have just a fruit which has a data of the fruit, like the color, size, taste, because every fruit has color, size, and taste. Maybe price as well if we are talking about shops. What's then? So we can have different data and different maybe functionalities of the fruit or nodes of the or consumers nodes of the fruits for different types of them. For example, a tropical or citrus or some others. Okay, so let's take a look. Let's create the parent class fruit, and we'll have color, size, and taste. And we'll have a function, or as we call it, method, if the function is the part of the class, which is the print description, and we'll print information about color, size, and taste of the fruit. So let's do that. For that purpose, I will open the same folder I'm using all the time, guys, on my computer. So it will be inside documents. It will be the Python, and then I will make a new file. Let it be b.py. Oh, okay. Let's change the extension. And let's have it. Okay, so let's make a definition of the fruit. So as you understand, we're using def. So we're using the fruit. Maybe I will disable all of those hidden characters because they're not really needed. And we will have a few parameters. Let's which will have those parameters. So okay, I'm just wondering why self is not highlighted here. Did I make something wrong? No, actually it had to be highlighted, but okay. But okay, maybe I have to update my Notepad++. Okay, so we will have color, size, we can literally give some basic values if we like none. Let's suppose we'll have none if they're not defined. Okay, and as you understand, guys, we have to use those parameters somehow. So we'll have a self as the reference to the object itself. Oh, wait a bit. We are working for
class.
So let's use class. Because actually we could use even a function, because each class is the function, but not each. But it's not like each function is the class. But this is a bit. Deeper. So let's use just a class as it goes in a regular materials for you right now. But it could be even a function, by the way. But it's out of the scope of this material for us. So we're using color. And we are assigning the color, and we doing the same for the size and for the taste. Oh, I have to use here those things because literally it's the text. Okay, so so that's it. Let's take a look at what do we have to do next. We have to have a function called print definition. Wait a bit. Давай пока. Хорошо, ладно, давай пока. Okay, so we have to have this function, so print description, and we're about to print all of this information. Let's make that. So let's use a definition. Let's use this print description, and we're just saying it will be binded to the instance. Next, we are about just to print these values, and let's do that in a such way. So the color equal, and then we'll give color. Then it will be a size. And a taste. Okay, and since well, actually, I suppose we could leave things as they were written, but to make code working in a so-called strict mode, we have to have a reference for the instance. Okay, so right now we need to try if we are able to create the fruit using the fruits class, just to find out if it's really working. Okay, so we can try to give some values here. The color, maybe it will be some red. The size, maybe it will be such one. The taste, great. Well, whatever it would mean, you know. And we can try to run a function called a print description in a such manner. Okay, so let's take a look if everything will be fine. Okay, I really hope I didn't make any mistakes here, but if I did, we will see that. Oh, we can open terminal exactly from the folder. Okay, let it be that way. So let's use Python b.py. And as you can see, we can print out information of the fruit. So we've done the first part of things. And you know, just in case you would really like to try the code right now, I will copy this code in the chat. Anyways, the code will be available for you in the end. Don't forget about spaces between the left side and the code itself, because in such BeagleButton chat, those spaces in the beginning of the text, the line, and in the end of the line, they just been erased. No idea why, but take this into account. So what will happen next? Nextly, we have to make the child class called tropical, and it will inherit things from fruit, and we will override a taste attribute to sweet. Okay, let's do that. So how will we make that? So we will have the class called tropical, and we will say that parenting class is fruit. Okay, that's great. Surely we have to have a constructor which is binded to the reference. And literally, guys, we can actually forget about making any other parameter here, because it's not really maybe needed. Or we can still try to have such parameters. Maybe. Okay, let's do that like that. So, well, since the taste is just sweet, so there's no need of a definition of such parameter, because it will be hard coded, like an example of those men and women classes. Okay, we had only men, but the same could be done even for woman class. All right, so here what we will do. We have to use a reference to the upper level, to the parenting class, and we have to run constructor of that. And what we'll be doing, we'll be given a color, we'll be given a size, which will come from parameters of constructor, and we will hardcode the taste. Okay, well, what was the taste? Sweet? Yeah, it was sweet. Yeah. Okay, and we will just say it will be sweet. And now, guys, if we will try to make some tropical fruit instance, let's do that. Tropical equal to tropical. let's have some yellow fruit. I have no idea about sizes. Let's say it's something like a banana. Maybe such size would be fine. And we will have and we will about to print out a description about this fruit. So what will happen in such case? So let's run it. So as you see, we have yellow color, the size which was defined in constructor, and we have the taste of sweet one. So that's the way how we can do that. Okay, let's take a look maybe on some other things we would need to implement by that example task. Yeah, so the next one would be a citrus class. Once again, it will inherit everything from fruit. The taste will be bitter. And we will have additional attribute called bitter level. And we'll have to use a bitter level in the printing out of the stuff. So how to do that? A good question. But let's start with definition of the citrus. So what I will be doing, I will copy this class and I will just, make quite fast editing of this. So we have a color, size, and we're saying that a priori the citrus will have taste of bitter, but in the same time we have to have a parameter called the bitter level. Let's have it. I will maybe make that as non-textual parameter, so I will have none of spaces within its definition. So I will have to save this bitter level somehow. Maybe I will use a lowercase letters. So what I will be doing? So surely such parameters will be saved in subvariables of the class, of the instance. But in addition, I would like to save this bitter level inside the class, inside an instance. So that's why I'm, in addition of running an upper of the parent class constructor, I even would like to save the bitter level. And as you remember, we're about to print out in addition to the taste a level of the bitter. So how is it possible to do that? So what I will be doing, I will copy the definition of the function to make a story faster, because we have some not really much of minutes left. And I will say that I will print out the bitter level, but before that, I would like to run a print description from the parent and class definition. So what I will be doing, I will write super and then print description. So literally, I will run the definition from the parents and class. So these printouts will happen, and then I will print out the bitter level. I know, guys, it looks complicated, but unfortunately, the whole programming is based nowadays exactly on classes and on inheritance. Because you don't really have to make 100 copies of the almost same definitions. You are just giving some additions to a main definition, and you can have hundreds of such additions making another classes. Okay, so let's take a look if we are able to create a citrus instance. So let's have a citrus equal to citrus, and here we will have, well, let's suppose it will be lime. So lime is green. Maybe three, so something like that. And the bitter level, I'm not really sure how to write that. Maybe we can find out in the definition. Oh, okay, we don't have the bitter level here. Okay, it will be just a number. Okay, let's suppose I will give 5 as the bitter level. And I would like to make a printout of parameters of the citrus fruit. And I will run a print description, so which will run this function, which first will run a function from the partner class, and then will continue its execution printing the bitter level. Okay, let's see how it will work. All right, so let's run it. So what do we have here?
Line
okay.
24. Citrus, not citrus. One line up.
Ah, yes, thank you. Okay. Yeah. So you see, we have a green, we have a size, we have a taste, and we have a bitter level. So you see, we can have different classes which has something which is the common between them, but they can be quite a bit different in their functionalities. Maybe we are making addition of the functionality, maybe we're making totally different functionality if we like. Okay, so what else can be done? So we can make a mango fruit. Okay, well, the mango class, which will be a tropical fruit. Okay, and we can give the following values, like a red and medium for the size. Okay, so which means that literally we can a priori specify parameters of the Mongo, and each time we will run the Mongo, we'll make an instance of the Mongo. It will always receive parameters of red color, medium, and the taste of the sweet. Let's make that. So let's create another class, Mongo. Okay, so it will be inheriting everything from the tropical fruit. It will definitely have its definition constructor. Here, it's not really needed to specify maybe some parameters because it's a priori known that we will give a quite hard-coded values. So we will use a super, which will be a reference to the upper class, tropical, and we'll run a function, actually, which is the constructor. Seeing that we have the red fruit, and we have the size of medium. Okay. So that's the story. And now let's try to make a Mongo from the class of the Mongo, and let's print the Mongo parameters in such way. So what we will have? let's take a look. So you see, we have a red, medium, and sweet taste. Quite similar, we can work with a citrus if we would like. Okay, we have some minutes, so let's make a citrus. It will be a lemon. So it will be yellow, small, and bitter level will be 8. Okay, literally the story is almost the same as for the mango. So we will use lemon. It will inherit everything from the citrus. And parameters are, let's take a look again, yellow, small, 8. So parameters will be yellow, the size will be small, and the bitter level will be 8. Because for the citrus, we have to have the color, size, and the bitter level. So we are specifying them. And now let's do almost the same things as for the lemon. Sorry, as for the mango, but only to the lemon. Okay, in a such way. And let's run the codes, and you see, so we have parameters of the lemon: yellow, small, the taste is the bitter, and the bitter level is 8. So literally we created a code which literally was defined by such things, by such definition of the task. Let's call it that way. I will definitely upload this file, so don't worry, you will get this file. I will upload this after we will finish the class. So guys, so how do you feel? Is it clear what inheritance is and how is it possible to use it? And I would really like to see a response from Thomas as well. Yes, I received from Thomas as well. All right, so you can see that it's a really interesting way of optimizing the code. So you don't really need to make tons of the copies of almost the same codes, almost the same classes. So it just can be done much easier, but as you can see, a complexity of the code grows a bit. But believe me or not, OOP is the base of almost all nowadays programming, and it uses all the time the inheritance. All right, so I will give you that code. It's not a problem. I will upload that, so you will have it. So is it clear, guys, about the final project, what you have to do? And the Thomas? Yeah. Okay, so I really hope your friends, your classmates will take a look on this recording and things will be fine. Anyways, if there will be any questions, you can always write a question. The only thing, don't forget to mention a study institution you're writing from. Well, kind of, yeah, right? Because sometimes it becomes confusing, like when I receive a question, well, what do we need to prepare for the class, and then I have to literally think, okay, well, which university, which subject is it, which study year that student is on, and so on and so on. All right, I suppose you have my email somewhere here. Yeah, so here it is. Don't forget to put all details if you will write email. All right, so guys, thanks for being connected. I really hope this information will help you in the future when you will be working. Maybe you will be working, maybe you will not be working, but if you will be working, this info will literally help you to start deep diving into OOP, especially in the Python, as we do it right now. Okay, guys, so thanks for being connected. Definitely see you already in the January. But if you will have any questions, don't be shy to ask. We can even manage some stream if it will be needed. Maybe it will be needed. Who knows? And I wish you to have a nice celebration of these winter events. All right, so I think I can stop